Thanks, Fiona. Monday evening, the start of another week on Look North. Here comes tonight's top story. An official review into how police dealt with a man who went on to murder 2 people is criticised by a victim's brother.
How can you share ways of improving but also not accept any level of responsibility for what happened?
Police are told improvements should be made. Also coming up tonight, a tribute on ice. The Steelers and their fans pay a tribute to Adam Johnson a year after his death at Sheffield Arena. York Minster continues to crumble, with the changing climate making problems even tougher.
And I've been meeting the next generation of architects, artists and creative designers at a half-term Lego workshop here in Leeds.
Well, it's been exceptionally mild for late October. Some spots reached 18 degrees, a little bit of brightness in places. But what about the rest of the week? Join me for that detailed forecast.
Hello there, thanks for choosing Look North at the start of another week. An official review into police contact leading up to the murder of 2 people may as well be empty words. That's according to the brother of one of the victims. Marcus Osborne killed his ex-girlfriend Katie Higton and her new partner Stephen Hartnett in Huddersfield last year, just days after Katie told police she feared for her life. A review by the police watchdog has found West Yorkshire Police acted appropriately, but has also identified some areas of possible improvement. With tonight's top story, here's Phil Bodmer.
The moment a killer is taken into custody. Police arrest Marcus Osborne on suspicion of murder. In May last year, Osborne went to the home of his former partner Katie Higton. There, he inflicted 99 injuries on her before killing her new boyfriend, 25-year-old Stephen Hartnett. Leeds Crown Court heard the motive was sexual jealousy. At his trial earlier this year, Osborne was given a whole life term and will spend the rest of his days in prison.
If the police had listened to her originally when she initially reached out to ask for help, I sincerely believe that she and my brother Stephen might still be here today. This story is too common and we need to change the narrative so that when women go to the police reporting a threat from an abuser, they are listened to and that the police act swiftly and that they are protected and kept safe.
The 27-year-old had been in a relationship with Osborne, who was 35, for several years, but she left him in April 2023. Ms Higton told police she feared Osborne would seriously hurt or kill her 4 days before she was murdered.
A review by the Independent Office for Police Conduct said it had shared learnings with the West Yorkshire Force, aiming to improve the way police respond to similar incidents in the future. But that is of little comfort to the victims' families.
So we were made aware on Friday regarding their verdict, and it comes as no surprise. They found no wrongdoing, but have shared areas of potential learning. Now, to me, that is a contradictory statement. How can you share ways of improving but also not accept any level of responsibility for what happened?
On May the 10th, Miss Higton reported Osborne to Huddersfield Police Station. The next day, she made a formal statement telling officers he'd threatened to seriously hurt or kill her. On Friday, May the 12th, Miss Higton was offered social services support, which she declined. Osborne was then arrested and released. He then kills her and Mr Hartnett in the early hours of Monday morning. The case highlights the sheer scale of the problem faced by police and the authorities.
You cannot legislate for the kind of evil that Marcus Osborne presents to the world. The police work really hard. There are 53,000 domestic abuse cases and 6,500 police officers. So we will always hold the police to account to be better, to meet the needs of all the citizens of West Yorkshire. But it is inevitable that there will always be those cases in extremis where there are lessons to be learned and where we as a society lose loved ones.
The IOPC says its review did not identify conduct matters or criminal offences, but it's important lessons are learned where necessary. West Yorkshire Police says it fully accepted the opportunities for improvement and learning identified by the IOPC. An independent domestic homicide review is ongoing and will fully explore the background and wider circumstances of this case. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North.
Thanks, Phil. Now, earlier I spoke to Nick Peasgood from Leeds Women's Aid, and I began by asking her if the authorities did enough to protect Katie and Stephen.
From what I know, the police put into place everything that they could do at that point in time. I think the difficulty is with the wider system and how the police and the CPS lawyers actually get somebody charged.
So it's the CPS who obviously make a decision to charge someone. It sounds like things were beginning to happen maybe, but perhaps not fast enough. Is that how you read it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think some of the frustrations from everybody involved in the system is that sometimes we need an immediate decision about things, but the CPS have to make sure there's enough evidence to stand up in court.
So what can change? What would you like to see change? Is it a case of more money, more manpower?
I think both. I think the police need more resources, but the CPS do as well. We need lawyers available any time of day or night for the police to be able to get an immediate decision to charge somebody and lock them up, take them to court.
There may be people tonight watching this thinking, that's me. I am in danger from a former partner, a current partner, maybe a relative. What can they do? They might be frightened by what they've seen about this case.
I understand that, and I would say to people, please phone 999 if you're in immediate danger. You absolutely need to get somebody there that can protect you, but also reach out to support services, because we'll be able to give you advice and tips. We'll be able to risk assess the situation and be able to put a support plan in place.
Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Nick Peasgood from Women's Aid talking to us earlier today. You're watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. Notice to quit and locked out. Tenants on a Sheffield allotment say, well, they just want to get their personal belongings back. Next tonight, ice hockey fans and players have been paying a moving tribute to Adam Johnson, who died in a match at Sheffield Arena a year ago today. The Nottingham Panthers player suffered a fatal neck injury from a skate during the game against the Steelers. Ollie Constable is our reporter outside the arena for us tonight. Ollie.
And it was in front of thousands of fans, Tom, that this incident happened. For many, it was a distressing and upsetting thing for them to see. Well, on the anniversary of Adam's death, fans have been coming together to remember him here in Sheffield.
As we pay respect to Adam's memory here this evening.
A 47-second applause for number 47, Adam Johnson. A year ago today, the 29-year-old Nottingham Panthers player suffered a fatal neck injury from a skate during a collision on the ice involving Sheffield Steelers player Matt Petgrave. At the time, thousands of supporters saw the tragic incident at Sheffield Arena. This morning, the Steelers tweeted this, saying they wish to remember and celebrate the life of Adam Johnson. They said their thoughts and prayers go out to his family, friends, teammates and everyone affected on that night and since. Well, over the weekend in Nottingham, flowers have been laid at a memorial plaque outside the National Eye Centre in the city.
Every game we've been to since the incident's felt special. There's been something there in the crowd, but obviously being here today so close to the anniversary, there's another level of there's a feeling that it's a togetherness, but a togetherness in sadness and memory, I think.
It's obviously affected the whole community, but we've all come together today to help the team get through it.
The 47-second applause was seen at all other Elite League games, such as this in Nottingham. Fans who may have seen Johnson's fatal injury that night, there to support each other. On the ice on Saturday night, Steelers ran out 4-2 winners against the Cardiff Devils. But for many supporters who were there to witness the tragic events a year ago, the night belonged to Adam. Adam's death prompted a police investigation led by South Yorkshire Police. Last November, the force arrested a man on suspicion of manslaughter. He was re-bailed last month. Well, today, the force issued this statement. They said it's been working meticulously to fully investigate the unprecedented circumstances in which Adam lost his life. It's a complex investigation which has involved conversations with highly specialised experts in their field. For supporters who've been coming to games since that incident, it's understandably been a very difficult and emotional time. They'll never forget what they saw and what happened here a year ago today.
Thank you very much, Ollie, reporting there live from Sheffield Arena. Let's get some other news that is coming into our newsroom this evening. A man from West Yorkshire who killed his friend following a drunken argument has been jailed for 5.5 years. 37-year-old Robert Hisco died in hospital after being repeatedly punched by Nathaniel Phillip at the Butterball pub in Leeds on May the 5th. Leeds Crown Court heard the pair had spent the previous day drinking together before an argument broke out. The far-right activist Tommy Robinson has been jailed for 18 months for contempt of court. Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley Lennon, admitted to 10 breaches of a High Court order preventing from repeating false claims about a Syrian refugee living in West Yorkshire. The prosecution accused Lennon of undermining the rule of law. 2 Just Stop Oil activists from West Yorkshire accused of throwing soup over 2 Van Gogh paintings have been told they won't go on trial until January 2026. Stephen Simpson, who's 71, and from Shipley, 77-year-old Mary Somerville from Bradford, and a 24-year-old woman from Cornwall all plead not guilty to damaging the frames of 2 sunflowers paintings at the National Gallery in September. Now, in its manifesto, Labour pledged to build 1.5 million new homes by 2029. Research by BBC Yorkshire has found that to meet that target, over 3,000 extra homes will have to be built in York and North Yorkshire alone. That's every year. But will extra money be made available for that in the Chancellor's budget on Wednesday? With the story, here's Richard Edwards.
York's regularly rated one of the most desirable places to live in the country, and that means people are queuing up to move there. The level of demand began a property boom that's gone on for years, has pushed the city's average house price to more than £300,000, meaning, for many, home ownership is a distant dream. Lisa runs a tattooists and clothing shop in York, but says she was priced out of the city's housing market.
As a first-time buyer, maybe I was a bit naive, but coming from a rented property where I could park my car, had a garden, 2 bedrooms, I thought, well, if I have that rented, surely I can have that if I buy. And yeah, it was completely out of my range.
It was a headline general election commitment underlined by Sir Keir Starmer on this campaign visit to York. 1.5 million homes built by 2029. The problem Labour says it's trying to unclog is getting homes built. Applications like this one, called Heronby, just outside of York, usually meet opposition, which led to Heronby being put on hold.
So Labour's trying to do 2 things, speed up the planning system and find extra places to build the so-called grey belt, places like this on the edge of Ilkley, and they'll need to find them fast. To hit that 1.5 million target, thousands of new homes will need to be built in Yorkshire every year.
There's pressure on all parts of the housing market, with reports of bidding wars and intense competition for rented homes. So new sites like this one at Spofforth, where none of the 72 social housing new builds are for sale, but a number will be up for rent, will be welcome news for renters.
We really welcome the government's ambition to build as many homes as possible, and that will require us to build at rates that we've not seen since the end of the Second World War. But we also need a long-term funding stream to support the delivery of that plan. And certainly we are calling for the government to reclassify investment in housing as infrastructure spend, so in the same way that you would with road, rails, schools, hospitals.
So with the budget less than 48 hours away, it's all eyes on the Chancellor. How high will affordable housing be on her list of red box priorities? Richard Edwards, BBC Look North, York.
Thanks, Richard. We will have plenty of budget coverage, of course, on BBC Look North. So do stay with us on Wednesday for all the analysis about how it's going to affect you. And from homes now to gardens. People who have plots on an allotment in Sheffield have been told they have to leave by the site's owners. The Infield Lane site has been there for more than a century. Tenants say the owners have now locked gates, put up cameras and blocked access lanes, which means they can't get to their plots with vehicles to remove their personal belongings. Here's Corinne Wheatley.
Behind the fence, a 14-acre site home to 200 allotment plots. But a century of tradition here in Darnall is over after the private owner decided to close it down and give tenants notice to quit.
We can't drive on with a van to take us stuff off.
Asked us if you were still on site and you were active as a community plot.
No one is disputing there have been problems here. Animals have been removed following welfare concerns and there has been fly tipping. However, some diligent community gardeners remain, and now they're locked out. One morning they discovered the approach track to the entrance had been blocked, padlocks and cameras installed. They're trying to get their possessions back.
The situation is that we're not allowed on legally. If we go on, they will prosecute us. They've talked about arranging one day for us to get on and get all our stuff off, but with no vehicle access.
This is Paul Campbell. He's the longest tenant. He says the landowners drove through the fence over his plot with a mini digger to block the access.
I'm retired now. I was my mother's full-time carer for 20 years and this was my escape. The thing is, we had no warning at all. They treat us like dirt. It's as simple as that, the landlords. They have all the 10 years they've been here.
The allotment has been, for some, a happy and productive place over the years. Since the 1st of October, it's become a source of frustration over lapsed deadlines and negotiations to remove belongings. We've been unable to successfully contact the landlord. While the site isn't owned by Sheffield City Council, they've told us where appropriate, they've offered support to allotment holders. Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North.
Leeds kept the pressure on the top two sides despite a goalless draw against Bristol. Nanto came closest with this effort. Sheffield United beat Stoke 2-0 with goals from Kiefer Moore, who had the final touch, and Tyrese Campbell. United now have 5 consecutive home league wins without conceding a goal. They're now 4th in the Championship table. Huddersfield strengthened their League One promotion credentials with victory over Exeter. Matty Pearson with the header and Ben Wiles's thunderbolt more than enough for the win. Rotherham United came back from 0-0 at half-time to beat Stevenage by 2 goals from Jordan Hugill and Malik Wilkes, lifting them to 14th in League One. An impressive volley from John Russell got Barnsley on their way to another win, moving them up to 7th in the table. Max Waters all but sealed the points against struggling Shrewsbury. Chesterfield's strong return to league football continues after beating Morecambe 5-2. They're in the League Two playoffs thanks to a dominant second-half display. This goal by James Berry, possibly the pick of the bunch. Doncaster held off a late Bradford charge to win their Yorkshire derby at Valley Parade. Both sides are in the playoffs. Rovers' goals came from Luke Molyneux and Billy Sharp. Andy Cook's late goal, just a consolation.
I can't remember such a positive roundup for such a long while, although Paul might be a little bit annoyed at the Bradford result. Now, you'll recognise this building. It is, of course, the iconic York Minster, part of the fabric of the city. It has survived war and fires, but today it is apparently facing the biggest threat in its long and varied history: climate change. In order to safeguard the Minster's future, it is undergoing some of the most significant changes it's had for a century and a half. With more on this story is Keely Donovan.
The York Minster has stood proud on the city's landscape for nearly 1,400 years. But like so many of our heritage buildings, extreme weather, exacerbated by climate change, poses a threat like no other.
We cannot get the water off the cathedral quickly enough, so that is causing water ingress. It's leading to cavernous decay, delamination of the stone, rotting of the timbers, and then of course that water's got to go somewhere and it goes onto the estate, and then we're seeing issues with the hydrology within the precinct itself. So it's a big challenge and it's a huge worry.
It's the rain at the moment, I think.
Lee Godfrey has worked as a stonemason at the Minster for 34 years and has witnessed the changes firsthand.
It's heartbreaking. Yeah, this is some of the worst decay I've seen. You can see the salts there, and then it literally crumbles, almost like table salt in your hands. Most, cathedrals in this country are calcium limestone, where we've got this magnesium content in it, which is what makes it a fantastic material to work, but then it's also the opposite side. It is that magnesium that's the salt that then gives us this decay.
York has seen its fair share of flooding, and scientists say extreme weather is becoming more frequent and intense as a result of climate change. The famous climate stripes created by the University of Reading clearly show how the average temperature in York has changed over time. The red lines show where the temperatures have been above average. But the Minster's team is fighting back with a massive project, the biggest that this place has seen in over a century and a half.
Solar panels on the choir roof of York Minster, producing 33% of our energy requirements with low energy buildings, air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps. Our refectory, it had the first solar slates on a listed building in the city. So by Christmas, we will be producing enough power on site to run 50 average UK properties.
They're also investing in nurturing the traditional craft skills at the same time as embracing cutting-edge technology as a tool to help them care for the building.
When the early stonemasons started building the Minster at the West End, they knew they would never see the East End completed. It took 250 years. As a global society, we need to start thinking about 100, 200 years hence, because otherwise parts of the earth are going to be uninhabitable.
Keely Donovan, BBC Look North, York.
Oh, well done, Keely's got the head for heights there, and her cameraman too. Beautiful pictures there. Good luck to the Minster team. Now, castles to cars and streets to superheroes. What have they all got in common? They can all be built by Lego, of course. A staple to keep the children entertained during the school holidays, and that is exactly what has been happening in Leeds today. The developers of Air Park by the Tetley building on Leeds South Bank invited families to a special workshop. Children got the opportunity to meet professional Lego masters and construct some of their very own designs. We sent our very own big kid stroke master builder, Hannah Gray.
Recognise this historic building in Leeds? The Tetley building, as it's never been seen before. It's taken over 400 hours to build using more than 90,000 Lego pieces. Families were invited to see this new design today and create their own masterpieces.
We're doing today, I want everyone to build something to do with Leeds. So what Leeds means to you, or something from Leeds.
Professional Lego builders ran free workshops to inspire children to experiment with their own ideas.
My name is Fatima and I'm 7.
And what are you building today?
A football pitch. My name is Charlotte. My sister's called B. And this is round a park we're making. My name's Albie. I made this red car.
From new vehicle designs to the Leeds water taxi, all these creations will now go on display alongside this Lego brewery. This was the home of Tetley's beer making in Leeds for nearly 200 years. The new owners says it now needs major work doing to make sure it's fit for purpose.
We've submitted plans to Leeds City Council to refurbish and extend the building, and we wanted to show the people of Leeds what we were planning on doing. So we knew we needed an architectural model, and I'm a bit of a fan of Lego, and the Tetley worked perfectly in terms of its scale and its size.
The creators of this model probably have most kids' dream job. Kevin appears on TV as a Lego master.
I've had Lego my whole life, and since I was 6, I want to be a designer and do something with Lego. Using Lego as a medium to create art. So we see it as no different than a sculpture used clay, we use Lego parts. And it's that limitation, so it's knowing all the parts and how they go together, how we can actually use them to create things.
Requiring the kind of focus and problem-solving skills that these children are hoping to build on.
I'm making a rainbow. I'm making a castle, and you can build anything you imagine.
It's a very versatile thing, so you can do whatever you like with it and whatever you feel, really.
I like building, designing and creating. I like it that it can be really imaginative, and you can rebuild it because it doesn't matter what you build.
Emily, I know you can do an amazing model of the Tetley building, but can you do the Look North studio?
What do you think of this? Here's Paul.
And here's Tom. What do you think? Hannah Gray, BBC Look North, Leeds.
I tell you what I think. This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened in my life, and that includes getting married and having 2 children. Look there, like, I've even put my grey suit on so I match with him, and he gets off and my legs don't quite reach the ground. That's also like real life. And here's me walking over to hand over to Paul, and oh, Paul, you're such a brick.
Oh, thank you very much. I was just saying you've no legs on there, but I hope your wife didn't hear that last comment that you made about the most exciting part of your life.
It's genuinely fantastic. I'm going to take him home, hopefully.
Well, we're both on late tonight, so we can both have a play and offer something at 10:30, can't we?
Always good to have something to play with between shifts.
Thank you very much. Right, let's have a look at a couple of pictures that you've sent in, because, I mean, it was like a summer's day. This is the Leeds-Liverpool Canal in Skipton. We manage 18 degrees, believe it or not, at Leeming in North Yorkshire. Not everywhere had the sunshine. There was a few showers, a bit of drizzly bits and pieces. That was only a perfect rainbow there, taken by Sandy this morning. If you've got any pictures you'd like to send to me, address is on your screen, X, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So your headline for tomorrow, it's a little bit mixed again. There will be a lot of cloud, especially at first, a bit of drizzly rain, but it'll become dry and turn brighter, especially through the afternoon. And then high pressure will become very persistent indeed, a proper change in the atmosphere coming in the next sort of 24, 48 hours. And this high pressure will not only be there throughout the rest of October, which is only about 3 days, but through early November. It could be there for around about 10 days at least. So what we conclude from that is that there's going to be a lot of dry weather over the next week or two. Now you can just about see the gaps in the cloud there that allowed Leeming to reach a balmy 18 degrees today, that's 64 Fahrenheit, but those gaps have filled in. We've got a lot of cloud to come tonight. There'll be a little rain and drizzle, especially over the hills, a bit of mistiness in places, very mild again, temperatures around 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. And so tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough at 2 a.m, Bridlington at 2:25 in the morning. So it's a bit of a slow start. It's cloudy, a bit misty, especially over the hills. There'll be bits and pieces of light rain and drizzle at times, but it'll become dry. And just note, there will be some gaps in the cloud sheet, a little bit of sunshine if you look it, and once again, very mild. We're looking at highs around 16 Celsius. That is 61 degrees Fahrenheit, just a light or moderate west to northwest wind. Looking a bit further ahead then, as you can see, it's a fine outlook. It's the first time we've had high pressure really on top of us for this length of time for a long time. Temperatures drifting down towards the weekend, but by then there'll be increasing amounts of sunshine, so it's all looking pretty good, Tom.
Also looking pretty good, you dressed all in black here. They've made you look like the milk tray man, I think, if you want to do some abseiling off the building. Other chocolates are available, of course.
Okay.
Thank you very much from your balmy forecast. We shall see you at 10:30. Me and Paul, hot chocolate. See you then. Bye.